Hi, Arianna. How are you?
I'm great, Marianne. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you. I see you there in your house. How's it been as a working mom through quarantine?
It has been a lot. I think that's my theme for 2020. Between having two kids, four, and my daughter is just over one. My husband stays home with them, but you can imagine with mom we live in a row home in the city.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
not many places to escape.
Oh, yeah.
So once they hear me, or if I hear them, crying downstairs, or if he's having a hard time, and we've basically been in quarantine with no help, zero,
Yeah.
since March. So
Wow.
I'm proud of us for surviving.
Yeah. I would think you'd be ready to
And
leave.
all the moms out there should feel proud.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's really tough. I didn't even think of that. I know that they would want you if they know that you're there. But when you hear them, that must be so distracting in a good way, but like not a negative distraction, but you want to go to them. It's just
Totally.
instinctive.
It really does make you question like how you're working and how efficient you're being, because when I'm on a call and it's not productive or it's not efficient, and we're not getting to like real concrete like solving business problems or something like that, like I'm like, should I really be like ignoring my kids downstairs to have this conversation? So it really does make you focus on being like uber productive, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure that you can escape when you need to and have the flexibility you need to in order to do
Yeah.
that.
Are you on
Tough.
Zoom calls all day?
Yeah, I'm really back to back. Like I come up here between 7:30 and 8 a.m. and I'm back to back from that time all the way through to, 5 or 6. For me, part of being a leader is about being, connected, like emotionally to the people that I work with. And when you can't just pass people in the office, it's important that you pop on that video, but it's also exhausting. So I think I've been trying to take breaks during the day, get out, take a walk,
Yeah.
and then just set out some time for like just maybe a couple like stretches between meetings, or I have now have a standing desk, which is absolutely life changing.
Do you sit and stand throughout the day or do you stand all
I
day?
do. Yeah,
Oh,
sit and stand. And then, like, if I'm on a call like this and, having a conversation, I tend to stand because I feel, I don't know, there's something, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but there's something about, I think, just like the way you feel when you're talking and you're standing up versus like sitting in a
yeah.
chair and slouching. And
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You talked about your husband being the primary caregiver. Can you can you tell me how you came to that decision?
My husband is the most incredible partner. And, for me, we didn't meet until, we were a little bit older, and we had both, lived a little, I guess I would say, by the time we had met. And, when we decided to have children, he was the home builder. And, as a marketing professional, we just basically, agreed that my skill set would more quickly die than his, right? When you think about being able to stay up on marketing trends, being able to actually stay, relevant in the marketplace. And I just have a lot of passion for my career. He, home builder, he has like hard skills. He can go back whenever without really like having a hiccup in his, building is building today. It's building, in 3 years. So we decided that he would stay home until both the kids went off to school. And so it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to watch the bond he's created with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
kids. It's been hard at times for me to not be that person and control every decision in the house and leave him the space to actually be that person.
Yeah.
But we've really come into it, and the kids just love having him home.
Do you think it's more accepted now by society than it was maybe 10 years ago?
I think yes is my general answer. I think it's much more common. I definitely have a network of working moms who have stay-at-home husbands, and
Yeah.
like we have a lot of dialogue and conversation because it is different. And I think, but for me, we live in the city in Philadelphia, and I can tell you, like when he goes to the playground, like there's no other stay-at-home dads to talk to. It's all stay-at-home moms and nannies, and he definitely gets a lot of commentary and things that it surprises me that it bothers him, but like people call him like Mr. Mom, and he like does not appreciate it. He's like, why is that? Like, why would someone call me that? And I think that people really aren't as evolved as we would like to believe they are. I
Yeah.
think that for me, I think it's so important that parenting is like a equal experience across the man and the woman. And sometimes the man will lean in, sometimes the woman will lean in,
Mm.
or whoever it is, right? Any sort of union across two people.
Do you feel like you're judged as a mom? Like that you're not a real mom?
Yeah, I think it depends on the audience, right? And I think this is where we have to be careful of like the judgment we sort of apply to one another because, it's easy to become resentful of the other group. I really, and we both do, we try to live by the method that like it's your choice and it's like whatever is best for your family and the situation that you're in. So I try not to let the judgment get to me, frankly,
Yeah.
like, and just come at people with a very accepting mindset, even in this environment, right? Like I think the questions and the choices and trade-offs that we as parents right now generally experience, none of them are good. Send your kid to school, don't send your kid to school. See your grandparents, don't see your grandparents. Like, and all the potential outcomes and trade-offs, none of them are positive. You're just making the right choice and trade-off for you and your family and what's important
Right.
right now. And I think we have to accept that of one another.
Yeah, it's been amazing to me. My kids are all out of school. It's been amazing to me watching parents as they make that choice. And there are definitely people who are on the other side who think they're making a bad choice for their kids. Like they're bad parents. And it's come on. No parent is doing something they think is bad for their kid.
I think we're just too damn hard on ourselves as parents, and I think that is one thing. Like when we get on our all team calls, I think every person has a story. Like every individual, right? Whether it's a learning disability or caring for elderly parents while trying to homeschool your kids because they can't go to school. Like my mom always said this to me, and I think it's such a true quote. She always says, if you were in a room with 10 people and everyone dropped their problems in the center of the room, you would gladly grab your own and walk away.
Yeah.
Because, and you really do in this situation realize that, everybody's dealing with challenges, and we have to just be more patient and empathetic towards one another in order to get through all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So your daughter's a year old. So that means a year ago you came back from maternity leave. How long were
Yeah,
you on maternity leave?
I was out for almost 5 months.
Okay. So what was it like when you came back?
Well, it was an interesting time to say the least. My boss and mentor in the organization resigned while I was on leave. So the added pressure of one coming back from leave and then coming back to an interim chief marketing officer job, and stepping in and trying to figure out how to lead, and then COVID hit. I mean, it was just one thing after another.
Wow.
So it was much different than returning from my first, where, I came back and things were relatively the same as when I left. This time, everything had been turned upside down and the requirements and the demands were totally different. So that was hard, but it was worth it. For me, I feel like being in a leadership role and being an executive and having kids at the age that I have them, I feel an obligation to make that very public and known, and to um, visibly show the trade-offs I'm making. Like I'm getting off this call because my daughter needs me, or I can't be on any calls past 5:30 because I have, unless they're absolutely urgent, because I'm setting these boundaries, and I don't believe that. Um, we can have balance. I really don't believe in balance. I think that balance is um, a false claim of hope. I think what we can have is boundaries, and we can make those boundaries known, and we can help create an environment that makes it okay for other people to also have those boundaries.
Yeah. So when you've started doing these things, what's the reaction been like? Because that's really unusual to to have an executive say, "I have to go now. My daughter's calling me." That's really
Yeah,
unusual.
It is. And, I think, honestly, it's been fine. And
Yeah.
I think that that's probably the most surprising thing
Yeah.
is that people are looking for that type of environment, right? And I think the workplace of the future is one that demands more flexibility, that demands more empathy. And I think COVID has really accelerated
Yeah.
that in the workplace. And I hope to see it stick on the other side because it's much harder to ignore you and your life outside of work. If I'm seeing you in your house, if I hear your kid in the background, if
Yeah.
I hear you say, like, I have to go, I'm having a challenge at home, I'm going to tap out, such and such, catch me up at the end, and making that okay, I think it's just been amazing. Like, TD is
Yeah.
a very accepting environment for working parents and frankly leaders. Like, I've seen no resistance, and
Yeah.
frankly I've seen people say, that's great, okay, let us know what you need, and then follow up with me later, hey, is your daughter okay? And it's just the normalization and leaving the baggage of judgment and what you think people might think about you at the door, and just
Yeah.
sort of owning being authentically you and what you need, as long as you're delivering on your job, right?
Yeah. So before you had kids, what did you think of other working parents?
Yeah, I am, if I'm being honest with you, Marianne, this is one of those embarrassing, like, introspective moments for me because I had the pleasure of, having pretty large teams early in my career. I had great leaders and mentors who believed in me and gave me chances and stretched me in challenges. And I had a lot of working parents on my teams. And I reflect back to earlier days of leadership. And I think about I never asked what they needed. I never really recognized how hard it was to balance the demands of home and work and what they needed from me as a leader in that regard, and frankly as a human, because it's so hard to explain it when you don't understand, right? It's this idea. And then once I experienced it, I was like, oh goodness. And I remember reaching out to people and being like, I'm so sorry if I wasn't sensitive when that happened.
Wow, you did that?
Because now, oh, absolutely, yeah, so
Wow.
many people, and it's not that I was mean or insensitive. It was just that I didn't acknowledge it, right? And I think that that's the kindness that we have to show is like, acknowledge it, acknowledge that it's hard. Like, I have this other thing going on in my life, and it's a big part of me.
So you don't believe in balance, work family balance, which I totally agree with you. I always say it's a pendulum swing and it
Yeah.
never stops in the middle. It just keeps going back and forth. So what do you think about striving to have it all?
Yeah, I think having it all is, again, just like a unreachable thing. Like, having it all, it's what do you need right now and what's most important in my now. And I think, like you just said about the pendulum, that sticks with me because for me, like, what I need right now is the ability to tap in and tap out. And yes, I want to be like, have an amazing career, and I'm lucky that TD Bank supports me in the way it does in order to do that. But if I had to trade off, I would choose my kids. I would choose my family.
Of course.
And I think that we all have to recognize that, like, at different points in our life, we might have to make different decisions. And it's just what's most important to you right now.
What a great philosophy you have. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. It's been really great talking with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marian. I really appreciate it. I hope you're well and stay well, and you have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Take care.